meet my own standards there. Can we go back to Raj? Did he clean up his connection? No, it's a mess. All right, that's fine. Well, I appreciate that nonetheless. But the Biden thing, folks, I don't know what we got to do. Give the guy fish oil, curcumin, or whatever. The guy's got to clean up his cognitive mental state. I mean, he's only the guy with the nuclear codes, not like it's a big job he has or anything like that. Hey, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you want to check out my podcast today, I would deeply appreciate it. Little known secret of the podcast business is listens to the show matter, but really subscriptions matter. They're free, or follows, whatever you want to call them. I hate subscriptions. It sounds like you got to pay for it. You don't. So if you wouldn't mind, check us out on Apple, Spotify. Click that follow button. And importantly, go to Rumble, the free speech platform, rumble.com/Bongino. That's my podcast, the video version right there. I really appreciate it. See you all tomorrow.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michael's. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
This is Franklin Graham. The whole purpose of Operation Heal Our Patriots is investing in the lives of men and women that have received injuries on the battlefield, to invest in their marriages.
Every day we have 2 hours of classes led by retired military chaplains. And in between, they get to enjoy all the scenic parts of Alaska.
It's something my heart needed to build our marriage.
Operation Heal Our Patriots, they want to see your marriage succeed, and they really do care.
God has opened up my eyes of how much he truly does care about me, because I could have been gone. My injuries could have been worse, but every day I thank him just for a second chance to become closer to him.
We want to strengthen their marriage, and we want to strengthen their faith.
We have seen marriages restored, couples that came up here that were going to have a divorce, and by the time they left, they were recommitted to that marriage.
For more information, go to SamaritansPurse.org. That's SamaritansPurse.org.
The YMCA is just a starting line, for the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick below the surface. My why is diversity in unity, a safe space in my community, living with sincerity, giving every day my everything. With my why, I stand strong, seen and supported all along. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your why. Learn more at ymca.org. for a better us.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas vowing strict oversight of the National Archives after President Biden returned missing presidential documents from his days in the Obama administration. In a similar case involving former President Trump, the archives referred the case to the DOJ, but not in the case of Biden's missing papers.
I would note that Joe Biden's case in some ways is even more troublesome than Donald Trump's case, because Joe Biden is a former vice president when these papers are involved. The vice president does not have the same prerogatives and the same kind of declassification authority that a former president does.
Senator Cotton was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Also at townhall.com, President Biden in Mexico City with the leaders of Mexico and Canada, attempting to mend tensions that have divided the continent. Talks centering on migration, trade, and climate change. California residents, they're still grappling with flooding and mudslides in the latest series of powerful storms. Donna Warder reports.
On Monday, a 5-year-old boy was swept away by floodwaters when his mother's truck became stranded in floodwaters near Paso Robles. Officials have called off that search because water levels are too high. In San Bruno, resident Monty Bolt tells TV station KGO that a huge tree from her yard crashed onto a neighbor's home and car. She says they're okay.
We didn't hear anything, but when we came out the next morning and our neighbors next door text us to say, we've gone to our friends.
Some streets have turned into gushing rivers, and mud and rock slides are blocking some roads. I'm Donna Warder.
Then on Wall Street, the Dow is ahead 93 points and the Nasdaq up 72. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You know that your dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. At Key City Capital, we know that as well and would like you to know about investments we believe can make sense in an inflationary environment. For more details, check us out at keycitycapital.com. Key City offers passive investments in cash flowing real estate that can help offer a hedge against inflation and stock market volatility. When prices rise, more couples and families further delay home ownership. Key City Capital owns thousands of rental units with attractive prospects for income and appreciation as more and more renters apply to live in their communities. Let the team at Key City Capital grow your wealth and diversify your investment portfolio. Connect with them today at keycitycapital.com or call 817-912-1569, 817-912-1569. Again, that's keycitycapital.com or call 817-912-1569, 817-912-1569.
From the News Talk STL Newsroom, I'm Joey Vasevich. Robert Tracy was sworn in as St. Louis City's chief of police yesterday. In an email sent to staff, Tracy wrote, "There is a palpable sense of hope and potential that has been common in each of the conversations and meetings I have had, and it has quickly become clear just how many stakeholders are rooting for the success of our department." According to St. Louis City records, last year 192 people received a summons for a violation of an unattended firearm in their vehicle. Everybody who was charged with the violation was given the chance to get the case dismissed as long as they show the court that they have bought and installed a locked gun safe for their car. St. Louis University officials are probing workload and mental health concerns inside the university's pep band after its director quit last month in frustration. In an email, the former band director alleged that the university had heaped extra work on the band but wouldn't address the added stress on members. The St. Louis County Library has been ranked a 5-star library, the top ranking from the Library Journal Index of Public Library Service. The ranking is based on statistics from 2020, when the library was actually closed for much of the year because of the pandemic. The Food Network has published a list of the 5 best barbecue restaurants in the country, according to other chefs. Q39 was voted the best barbecue in Kansas City. In the article, Q39 is described as an up-and-coming chef-driven barbecue restaurant that hits each and every flavor profile just right. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Skies will slowly cloud over this afternoon. High temperatures still will sit in the mid-50s out there. We'll be in the 40s through the evening, only dropping to a low of 43 degrees tonight with increasing cloud cover. Watch out for some morning fog come Wednesday, with rain chances holding off until the late evening. That rain will continue through Thursday morning. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged. Your better best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
Good afternoon, St. Louis. You are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 News Talk STL. I'm your host, Katie Fitzpatrick, and Susie Moore joins me today. Susie, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so glad to be here. This is fun.
I know, so much fun. Tony is out today. He will be back tomorrow, and that is why Susie from Red State is here filling in. Of course, everybody knows Susie. Susie is all over every show. We love having Susie here. She is such an asset. Thank you so much for making it in today with me.
Oh, glad to be here.
How are you doing today?
I am hanging in there. I'm appreciating the fact that there is some sunshine outside.
Oh, yeah. It feels beautiful outside. Yeah. I can't believe it. Sometimes we get these really rare days in January where it's gorgeous. Yeah. Today is one of them. Yep. I think it's in like maybe 55 degrees. Yeah. Around there. I didn't listen to the weather. I'm sorry, Steve Templeton. But I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Steve. He's going to call up and be like, what the heck, Katie? But I know it's a beautiful sunny day
It
outside,
is.
so grateful for moments like this
Mhm.
because you know the tundra of winter is going to be happening soon.
Well, and we've been having plenty of just the gray skies and the gloominess,
Ugh.
and I'm with Chris Arps on that. It affects me. It affects
Seasonal depression.
Yep.
It's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
So we're going to have a great show today. We're going to talk about Biden's classified documents. Of course, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
87,000 IRS agents are going bye-bye, I think, which is amazing. Hurrah for us, a victory. We're also going to talk to Crane Durham at 2:25 today, founder of Nothing But Truth, nothingbuttruth.com. I'm going to get his opinions, his thoughts on the craziness that's going on in the news cycle. He's always got a lot to say. He's got a lot of energy, people. You don't want to miss 2:25. He's hilarious. And then there's a couple of other things I want to talk to you about, some involving Hallmark. I know you're a big fan of Hallmark.
I am.
Some a competitor, I should say, is leading the charge in some of the movies and the network and doing really, really well. So I want to get your thoughts on that and where Hallmark is going. So first, let's start off. Let's come out swinging, Susie.
All right.
With the president, with Biden. He's got a lot going on these days, going to visit the border, and now we have a whole new revelation that happened. President Biden on Monday refused to answer questions about the classified documents that were found at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement in Washington, D.C. This is from Fox News. Records from Biden's time as vice president were discovered at the think tank by his personal attorneys on November 2nd. Odd timing, isn't that, November 2nd?
Fascinating.
How weird is that?
Yeah.
And included a small number of documents with classified markings, the White House said. The National Archives were notified and took possession of the documents the following day. The documents were not the subject of any previous request or inquiry by the archives, the White House special counsel Richard Sabar said in a statement. Since that discovery, the president's personal attorneys have cooperated with the archives and the Department of Justice in process to ensure that any Obama-Biden administration records are appropriately in the possession of the archives. Attorney General Merrick Garland put U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, John Lausch. Have you heard of him before? I've never heard of him.
No.
And, I mean,
I'm not familiar.
Illinois is our sister state, so
Right.
I would think that name sounded familiar, but it doesn't.
Nope.
So he is in charge of reviewing the records. But when asked by reporters for a reaction to the findings, President Biden on Monday refused to give any answer and did not respond back. Any response to the discovery of classified documents at your office, a reporter asked. The president appeared to look down and ignore the question. The Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement is affiliated with the University of Pennsylvania and opened in Washington, D.C. on February 2018. So we have this little gift that happened to us. Now, after reading this article, after hearing that classified documents were in the possession of our former vice president, our president now, Biden, I look at The View, and I know that a lot of people are like, why, Katie? Why would you do that? I do this because I have to get a little giggle. I have to laugh about a situation because the hypocrisy, as we all know, is so gleaming, is so upfront in our faces when you read something like this.
Right.
Because the treatment of President Trump, where we had this whole debacle of a raid happening at Mar-a-Lago, was a few short months ago.
Oh, yeah. August.
A few short months ago, we had a full-blown investigation, insanity happening at Mar-a-Lago, FBI involved, all the Democrats thinking it was going to be something that was really big. And I wanted to see the reaction from our favorite, quote unquote, liberals from The View. And of course, Joy Behar says something that you can't make up. You can't make it up. And she says, Trump is, of course, a liar. He's, of course, a thief. We all know this. And I'm paraphrasing, but this was the sentiment. He's a liar. He's a thief. These things we all know to be true. So, of course, we assume that something nefarious was going on. But Biden, we don't think he's a liar. We don't think he's a thief. We don't think he does anything that's harmful. So we give him a pass. We give him the benefit of the doubt, is what she said. Susie, how is that possible that we have people in the media, if you even want to call The View the media?
Right.
How do we have people that are so blatantly, that's a truthful statement from Joy Behar. She is not hiding the way that she treated Trump, how the left viewed Trump, how the left viewed that raid compared to what's going on with Joe Biden, who basically, unless you have a discovery that happened in the next that happened the hour before now at 1:00, there was no raid. There was no FBI involved. It was just, we found some documents. I mean, is that nuts to you, or is it okay, but it's totally believable?
Well, it's totally believable in the world that we're in right now, where the double standard is just blatant.
Yes.
And there's not even an attempt to like paper over it anymore. It's just there, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? I do agree that there are distinctions in the circumstances to the extent.
Let's lawyer up. Let's
Yeah.
hear the lawyerly, because if you don't know, Susie Moore is a lawyer.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear that kind of logistics, that kind of talk. What are the differences?
To me, there's two key differences. Well, there's two big differences. I don't know that one is as key as the other. One has to do with the number of documents involved. This sounds like a small number of documents. Maybe it sounds like about 10 documents. 10 documents, one document, 10,000 documents. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, the bottom line is there are times when somebody has possession of classified documents and they're not supposed to. Okay. The Biden team, per the story, discovered them on November 2nd and notified the National Archives. Okay. So they did. Let's assume there was nothing nefarious here. There was no ill intent. It just got overlooked. Once they were discovered, they were notified, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare it to what happened with Trump, though, obviously there was an ongoing negotiation back and forth with the National Archives over the possession of these documents and the request to have them back. Why that necessitated an FBI raid, I still don't have a good grasp on. Even if they think the fact that those were in his possession may have some criminal implications, they already had the process there. They already had dialogue going between his attorneys and the National Archives.
Yes.
So why did this become a DOJ FBI raid situation? Because they wanted the optics of that. They wanted the optics of going in. Well, and I even question that, because it's like, do you know what you did when you did that? Like,
pure chaos. And I mean, and that, I guess, is the biggest news, I think, whenever we look at this story and when we looked at Trump having classified documents. We know there is history of Obama keeping classified documents.
Mm-hmm.
There's history of Clinton keeping classified documents. I think I read that people were trying to take furniture out of the White House when they left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every president probably has grabbed classified documents on their way out. That seems standard, if you will. The process is what is baffling, I believe. And even to someone like Dan Bongino, who I heard him talk about this today, and he's so funny. He's like, yes, we know it's hypocrisy. Yes, we know, like, that's stating the obvious. We understand that the process is going to be totally different for Biden than it was for Trump. But I think that that's what the American people, when they read a story like this, that's what we get stuck on. That's what I get stuck on. Is that, as you just said, whether it be one document or 10,000 documents, the process for Biden almost kind of slipped through the rug. I mean, it almost kind of just happened, and nobody would probably know about it because it was so hushed and under the rug.
Yeah.
Whereas for Trump, it
Dog
was
and pony show.
Dog and pony show, huge, scandalous, elaborate thing, went into detail upon detail about how the FBI raided his home in Mar-a-Lago on every single news station, every single article written about it. I just think that juxtaposition about how things are handled, it is still to this day baffling to me. And I wonder if it is for someone like you who's been around the news cycle for such a long time. Is it something that still shocks you?
It doesn't shock me. In turn, like, this is kind of par for the course. This is how things have been being operated for forever. What does surprise me a little and does still kind of leave me sort of taken aback is the blatant sort of who cares attitude about it.
Right.
There's not even a pretense anymore about trying to be, to administer these things in a fair and equitable fashion. It's the FBI might as well be saying the same thing as Joy Behar. Well, Trump's a bad guy and he lies and he's a thief, so he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. Well, first of all, I think it's interesting. Well, I'm going to back up here.
Yes.
First of all, I think it's fascinating that Joe Biden has a think tank.
Secondly, agreed. I'm like,
secondly,
think tank. I've never even heard of this before.
Secondly, I think that for Joy Behar to sit there and say Trump lies, Biden doesn't. Biden lies almost every time he opens up his mouth. Now, sometimes it's like ridiculously silly, stupid stories that why he feels he needs to pull out of thin air. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But like documentably, he lies on a regular basis. So to use that as your standard and then say it applies to one and not the other, no. It's just, I like this guy. I don't like that guy. And therefore, if a bad thing happens to the guy I don't like, even if it's not supposed to, I'm fine with it.
Yes, and cover our butts. How do we cover our butts? Because they never expected something like this to unfold for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ladies of The View and many other people, MSNBC, CNN, I mean, you name it, there's a lot of other people that are probably sitting there wondering, okay, we just made a big deal about this in August, and I know that the news cycle moves quickly.
Right.
I know we have a lot of things going on every single day, 24 hours a day, but nobody has forgotten about that raid in Mar-a-Lago.
No.
And so I'm sure a lot of people, the Jake Tappers of the world, the Joy Behars of the world, the Whoopi Gold. I cannot believe we're putting Whoopi into the media cycle, but she's there.
Yeah.
They read stories like this, and I hope and I pray that they say, oh, crap, how are we going to navigate this? How are we going to swing something like this so that we don't just show that 6 months ago, 7 months ago, we were talking about Trump and thinking that he was the most evil, corrupt person in the world for having classified documents found at Mar-a-Lago. And here we are talking about the best president ever. Well, they probably think that about Obama. The second best president ever. And that, I mean, who could do no wrong. And now we have to talk about classified documents that were found in his think tank.
Right.
I mean, and the timing of that, too.
It is very interesting.
That was right before the midterm.
Yeah.
And so is it the FBI, I guess the first question is, will the FBI be involved in something like this with Biden? I guess it depends on the documents.
It's been referred to the U.S. attorney. So,
Right.
I mean, obviously, that to a certain extent, the Department of Justice is already involved.
Awesome.
But
it's Merrick Garland, so
yeah.
What does that mean? Where are we going with
if
that?
You're holding your breath on major accountability coming for Joe Biden.
Right.
But, you know, what you were saying just kind of triggered something else in me. Why did this story come out now? Why did this story come out in January? Stories like this don't just pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They come out for a reason. Someone wanted this to be out. Why? Is this
At this time?
Right. Is this the beginning of an effort to go ahead and shuffle Joe on out of the office? Or is it getting ahead of something else that's about to hit so that they
see? Yeah, your first, when you said, is it the preparation of making Joe kind of look a little bit like a schmuck? But then you have that I could believe, but then you have this trip to the border where I keep contesting. I keep saying, I think he's going to run again because I look at this border situation. I know everybody's thinking like he has to visit the border at some point. I'm maybe of the different way of thinking, and I say, it's too little too late, man. You're going to visit the border. Why? To get your ratings up, to have the photo op?
Right.
And why would you want your ratings up? Because to me, maybe a platform, maybe another point to get those ratings up to run again.
Right.
I don't know what's happening with this administration. I don't know if people are trying to push him out or if he's like, I'm running again. And so they're doing things like visiting the border to kind of amp him up.
It could be both. And there could be different factions with different agendas.
Right.
There could also be like, hey, we have to have him ready to go as our backup plan if everything falls apart. And we don't have anybody else to go with. So
that's a good point.
Better to have Biden as plan B if we can't orchestrate something preferable to that.
That's a really good point that I didn't even think of. If the bench is so small,
right,
and people are so unlikable because we still don't know who would run.
Right.
I still don't have a clear understanding of who would be the all-star in the Democratic Party that would run at this point. So Biden would potentially be the backup.
Right.
That is a very interesting question. Maybe we'll ask Crane Durham about that.
Yeah.
He's coming up at 2:25. Stick around to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie. Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio. The news and talk that affects St. Louis.
House Republicans are in historic turmoil.
This is 101.9 and 94.1.
We don't want to do nothing Congress. And I will visit the border myself.
News Talk STL.
Let me tell you about my good friends Mike and Beverly Sloan over at Elite Printing and Packaging. Going on their 21st year in business, a success story that began in Mike's basement and now employs hundreds right here in the St. Louis community. Elite is a turnkey solution for all your retail printing and packaging needs. Custom built to suit your business. Call 636-561-8970 or email elitesolutionsgroup.com. And don't forget to use the code word PATRIOT to receive free design and artwork for your first project.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Come on, people. This is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. The Vic Porcelli Show.
So, but today I wanted to talk, if you don't mind, about drug prices. You okay with that?
Street drugs or pharmaceuticals? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What do you got?
What are you looking for? I don't wear trench coats. No, I'm kidding you.
Hey,
I heard you. I couldn't believe what they're charging now. They're going to charge $100 for marijuana growers if you want to cultivate marijuana, like privately, just for your own use. You're going to have to get a license from the state, and it's crazy.
Vic Porcelli, live and local, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Tuesday, and at 4:07 we'll have Melissa Ortiz from the Able Americans Project and David Stokes at 4:25 from the Show Me Institute.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL. You're listening to Colombo and Katie. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Katie Fitzpatrick along with Susie Moore from Red State, and we are joined right now by Crane Durham, founder of Nothing But Truth, nothingbuttruth.com, at Nothing But Truth on Twitter. Thank you so much, Crane, for joining us this afternoon.
My pleasure. It's great to be with you all.
We are excited to hear your comments. I know I always say this about you, Crane. You're so fiery. You've got a lot of passion. and I'm excited to hear what you think about this little ditty that we're looking at, that President Biden ignores questions on why classified documents were found at his think tank. What are these classified documents, Crane, and why does nobody really give a damn about what's going on with President Biden? But it was sure a hoopla when we found those classified documents at Mar-a-Lago.
And when Hillary bleach bitted her computer.
Oh, yeah, and then smashing,
like wipe it with a cloth?
Yeah.
Yeah, smashing the phones and...
Yeah, and the idea of two systems of justice, however one feels about President Biden or former President Trump, we've got to have a consistent standard. And there's a problem because I think there's a feeling amongst conservatives that there is this silencing. I know, it's crazy. It is nuts to think that conservatives have been silenced or there's been a two-standard system when it comes to the application of the law, like over at the IRS and Lois Lerner. That's down the memory hole apparently too. So I think we need a consistent enforcement, and it needs to be clear. Otherwise, you're going to have people who are losing faith in the system, and that is frightening. That is something the Soviet Union could never do when we were in the Cold War. They couldn't turn the tide on that. But hey, Hillary Clinton, with BS, bunny stew stuff like coming up with a narrative of how I lost to this Trump guy. I mean, how'd that happen? I mean, don't look at the unlikability or trust issues there, Hillary. It's got to be some conspiracy and those Facebook ads. Yeah, see how that turned out.
Not so well. Crane, I was thinking about this while we were talking about this earlier. Whenever a story like this breaks, after getting over my initial oh, wow, about the story, my next thought goes to, okay, why are we hearing this story now? Because I work in media, so I know the way things work to a certain extent. And I know that when a story like this comes out, particularly one that's not necessarily favorable to an administration or an official who is favored by the media, there's usually an agenda behind it. What's your thought on that?
I think it's quite possible. It is strange how the news cycle works and the news media, and you know more about that than I do when you're on the front lines of it. And so what I see is, okay, we had a situation where Trump was evil. Trump was this, and this, and this. And then all of a sudden, Elon Musk, who was liked by the mainstream media, got good press, became this evil villain. And I wonder how these narratives are shaped. So to your point of why would they release this information now? Well, Biden's going to tell people as late as possible he's going to, but he's going to tell people that he is running again. And perhaps this is a chill wind to say, hey, we really don't want you to run again. That's total speculation, conjecture. But that's, there is something to narratives and forming narratives. Remember the big narrative about hands up, don't loot, shoot, sorry, hands up, don't loot. And it turned out not to be true. They base an entire movement on a lie, and then they don't let the lie go because they need it to push their narrative that can't rely on the facts. That's my view.
Crane, I think it's funny that you bring up, is this a way to push Biden away from running again? Susie and I were just talking about this at the end of our last segment. I don't know what to think about Biden running again. We have this piece of information that November 2nd, these documents, this story broke. These documents were obtained. November 8th was the midterm. Why did it not come out within that week? Why were we not privy to something like this happening?
They're going to hold stories. They're going to. I'm sorry to cut.
No, go ahead. Go.
But they're going to spike stories. They're going to hold stories. They did it with the vaccine, and it's disgusting. And to really go to that point and illustrate it for the audience, go to any election and you'll look for surprises. And oftentimes the surprise happens to be against a Republican. And it's kind of crazy. And when a Republican wins, they have to review, how did this happen?
Oh, yeah, couldn't have happened.
Oh, my. Yeah, how could it? So, yeah, I think the suppression of it, the worry, that's why we're losing faith in the system in the sense of, hey, wait a second. Government interference, I know it's not a First Amendment technical issue when it comes to the town hall, no to Twitter, but yet you did suppress certain people on messages that you didn't agree with, but were nevertheless factual.
So
that's frightening stuff. Yes.
So to you, Crane, do you think that this is an opportunity to push Biden out? And I ask this because he's also visiting the border, and that's the point that I brought up to Susie earlier. And to me, when I see him visiting the border, I'm of the thinking of it's a little too late. I don't really care that you're visiting the border right now. You've had plenty of time to do it before. The timing of that just seems very peculiar. They're doing this huge cleanup so that he doesn't have to see what these camps look like, what downtown El Paso looks like, how it's actually functioning with a flood of illegal immigration happening. But to my point, he goes to the border, and I feel like he's trying to score some points. I feel like they're trying to up the ante, get his credit a little bit more reliable. And I look at that juxtaposition to this situation, and I'm like, is he running again or is he not going to run again? Because I feel like he might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Katie, you're absolutely right to look at this and go, what is it? because you're checking a box, and he is saying, hey, guess what? I dealt with the border. Remember, I went down to the border. I made these changes. Now, the changes aren't going to matter, and it's not going to fix the problem.
Right.
Yet he has a talking point where he can say, yeah, I addressed that. I think that sucks. Pardon my language. I think it's absolutely terrible. If the mainstream media would get in the game and actually think about the normal, everyday, average American, they would see, oh, what happens when a city inherits or gets bused a particular population of illegal aliens? And oh, don't say that. But the point is, you have this, and it's a crisis, and people are in crisis. And this is kind of letting off the steam to say, I checked the box, but it's going to undermine them. And this is why I believe one of the reasons President Trump won, thank God, in 2016 was because there is a story that's out there, oh, Biden's fixed it, and it's much worse. It happened with the crime issue. It happened with immigration specifically, both in crime and the border, because President Trump highlighted the victims of these horrible, heinous events. So the bottom line is, I think he's checking it to go on to run. I don't know. I just get a sense.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm also wondering, though, Crane, too, because the GOP has now taken the House, and including with all the fun we had last week, getting the speaker selected. But one of the agenda items that could theoretically come up, I would think, would be in relation to immigration. And now the administration can say, look, we've done all we can do with our phone and our pen. It's up to Congress to fix it. So we're going to pivot back to making it a legislative priority and then blame it all on the Republicans.
That's a good strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the
diabolically good.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. It's awful. It's hurting people. It's causing death. It's causing sex slavery and everything else. And then they go, well, we want to make sure we pass immigration reform and comprehensive. And everybody sits there and goes, why don't you just enforce the law? Why don't you do the same policy when somebody is escaping persecution? Aren't there rules of the first country of origin that they go to, the first country they get to, that they claim asylum, as opposed to the second country where they go through that other country? I mean, there are rules. Andrew Arthur has done a great job over at Center for Immigration Studies, think tank, as you well know, and it sits there and says, here are the facts. And here's what's happening. Enforce the law. And that's, and incidentally, remember, Biden administration called these people, said they whipped people.
Yes.
It's disgusting.
It is absolutely disgusting. You are totally right. And the administration that's saying get rid of ICE. The administration that says we don't need ICE. We don't need anybody protecting the border. Everything's totally fine. Kumbaya. We don't need a wall. We need nothing to barricade us and form a wall. We don't need it. We're speaking with Crane Durham, founder of Nothing But Truth, nothingbutTruth.com. Follow him on Twitter at NothingButTruth. I wanted to get your thoughts, Crane, as well as Susie's, on House Republicans voting to repeal the Democrats' army of 87,000 IRS agents. I'm going to read a little bit of the story, and then, Crane, I'd like your thoughts first. House Republicans, who are now in control of the legislative body, voted Monday evening to cut billions of dollars to the IRS after the agency received a significant boost in funding in the Democrats' Inflation Reduction Act. Remember that act? It's supposed to be about helping us with inflation, and now it's really about 87,000 IRS agents being hired. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who just was elected to the position after 15 rounds of voting, hailed the passage of the bill by a 221 to a 210 vote. Government should work for you, not against you. As part of the House Republican commitment to America, I promise, we would vote to repeal the Democrats' army of 87,000 IRS agents on our very first day in the majority, McCarthy said in a statement. Promises made, promises kept. What are your thoughts on that, Crane Durham?
And I'm sure Susie, and obviously you, has heard, well, you go to the political fact check, which is anything but, and you look at, oh, that's a lie, that's not true. It's support staff. Yet they attach to this 87,000 being hired they attach more revenue coming in, a specific amount of revenue after analysis. So what is it, one or the other? Oh, I get the idea that, yes, these are more people to enforce a system to get more tax revenue from ostensible people that are not paying their taxes. I have a terrible view of the IRS. The rank and file might be doing their daily great work. I don't know. I just know historically, and that being in the last decade plus, I've seen it misused and to go after political enemies. I believe it's even been alleged that President Trump did that. I'd have to take a greater look at that. But my point is, it's a powerful arm of enforcement with the government and using it as a way to go after political enemies. It's dangerous and wrong.
What do you think, Susie?
Well, I agree with Crane on that, and I'm glad to see the House Republicans standing up and at least taking steps towards kind of ameliorating the issue that was created by these additional agents being, or additional employees of the IRS being added in under the IRA. But it's one of those things where I'm so glad that the House belongs in the Republicans' hands now. I'm skeptical as to what agenda items they're going to be able to actually accomplish, since they're only 1/3 of the government. I think the biggest changes we're going to see are in things like committee assignment type things, investigations. We're not going to see a whole lot in the realm of legislation, but to the extent that they can undo any of the damage that's been done by some of this recent legislation, I'm all for it. I'm just not sure how far that gets.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think the biggest win of all of this is that I don't have to see Nancy Pelosi all the time anymore. I mean, I honest to God am like, that is a great relief. I don't know if either one of you are like, hallelujah to Nancy Pelosi not having to, really not seeing her all of the time is just a huge win for me.
I saw a lady that looked just like her in Target the other day and started cracking up.
Like, ah!
I turned to my daughter. I'm like, does that lady look like Nancy Pelosi, or is it just me?
I shouldn't do this, but actually I should, because it's kind of
funny.
Do it,
Crane, do it.
The idea of, there was a show back in my day, and it was called Alice. I don't know if y'all watched it, but it was a show called Alice, yes. And so Alice, there was Vera Gordon, who was Dingy.
Right.
And she looks exactly like Dingy. But Dingy tore up a copy of the State of the Union address in front of the American people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really? We celebrate this woman?
That's exactly it. And it's crazy to see how high a lot of the Democrats lifted her as some just really rebellious person because of that conflict and because of that push and pull that she and Trump had, and how she was one of the only people that really could stick it to him. I'm like, you didn't stick it to Trump. Right. You never really got under his skin. You were not one of those people. There were many people that did get under Trump's skin, and he let it show, which was one of his downfalls. But I don't think Chuck or Nancy were two of the people that really made Trump lose his marbles. I think it was the opposite of that.
I think they were more like fun sparring partners for him.
Yes, absolutely. Good foils. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Crane, for joining us this Tuesday. We appreciate you. Again, follow Crane at Nothing But Truth, founder of Nothing But Truth, nothingbuttruth.com, to find all of his articles, fun blog posts, all of the good stuff from Crane Durham. We really appreciate you joining us this afternoon, Crane. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Facebook as well, and Twitter at Nothing But Truth. But thank you both. It's really good to be on with you, and you are part of the solution. It's happening. People are getting informed, and it's awesome.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks,
Have a great afternoon.
I'll see
Isn't he just so funny?
Yeah.
He is a wild man.
Got to make sure you've had your caffeine to start, to be on.
Absolutely.
Be able to keep up with him.
He is like a shot of espresso. I am like injected into my veins, and let's go. Well, next I want to talk to you, Susie. I have a couple of questions about Hallmark. I have a couple questions about Candace Cameron. I think it's Bure. Is that her last name?
Bure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they have a.
And she has a great network that has done very, very well. I want to get your thoughts on that, because if you didn't know this, Susie Moore loves Hallmark movies.
She does.
Or I should say more of like that sappy Christmas love kind of movie. I don't know if it's specifically Hallmark, but that brand is what you love.
Absolutely.
I have a couple questions about that for you, Susie. Next, don't go anywhere. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio. Follow Katie Fitzpatrick on Twitter at KFitzTalks. Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Colombo and Katie. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
News Talk STL.
Hey, Colombo here for Rockwood Charcoal. I love to grill and definitely prefer using charcoal over gas. And ever since I met Jonathan Heslop and he introduced me to his product, Rockwood Lump Charcoal, I can't use anything else. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory and has been the nationally highest consumer-ranked charcoal for several years. So you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. Doesn't get any better than that. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hey, it's Katie. We here at News Talk STL really appreciate the growth in our business during our first 18 months since we signed on the air. We appreciate the great local businesses like Safe Money with Doug Voss, Crypto World, and the Natural Institute of Health that have all become part of our family of advertising partners. If your business is interested in becoming part of the News Talk STL family, simply send an email to info@newstalkstl.com.
1019-941 News Talk STL.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what isn't.
Right here.
The country is heading in the wrong direction under this president.
We're suffering shortages. America's running out of everything.
News Talk STL.
news, analysis, opinion.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 941, 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
I'll take you home if you don't leave me at the front door.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019 941 News Talk STL. If you guys are streamers and you like to watch us instead of listen to us, make sure you like our Facebook page. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewsTalkSTL. You can also follow us on Twitter, News Talk STL, Rumble, News Talk STL, YouTube, News Talk STL. Jeff Allen is a pure genius for naming everything News Talk STL.
Yes, that's
Making
good branding.
Easy, convenient for you. Right now, our cameras are down. I promise they will be back, and you will be able to see the lovely face of Vic Porcelli very soon. Right now, we're going under some construction, if you will.
Right.
Had some damage happen, but we reassure you that those cameras will be up and working in no time, so please have some patience, and thank you so much for your grace right now in that time of transition. But yeah, News Talk STL, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, all the fun things. We are on all of your social media. And don't forget, if you would like to podcast, if you're one of those people, I'm a podcaster.
I am
Susie,
too.
are you I love
yes, I am.
podcasts. We are all over. You can get us on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, any app that you already have downloaded on your phone. We can be there for you. Super easy, super convenient to listen to us. So go ahead if you miss any of the shows that are live. I have, I'm here, I'm joined with Susie Moore of Red State because Tony Colombo is out. He'll be back tomorrow. And I do know a lot about Susie because she and I have worked together. We've been in the same place for a long time. We've always chatted on the live streams for a very long time. And so we know each other very well. And I do know something about Susie Moore, and I know the kind of TV shows that she likes to watch. And I'm going to say that they're a Hallmark type of movies. Don't know if it's specifically Hallmark, but those types of movies I know that you really enjoy. And I also know Kira Davis enjoys them
Yes,
too.
she does. She has
Love
her own
Kira
podcast
Davis.
on him.
Oh, man, she's great. She's wonderful. She's Red State also. She also has her own podcast. Listen to that. Kira Davis is awesome. So we had this controversy going on. I would put quotes around controversy with Candace Cameron Bure, and she started her own network. Now, not long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there was some controversy surrounding Candace because she made some comments talking about the network being family friendly or something.
Traditional family values.
Traditional family values. Thank you, Susie. When I hear that, it doesn't spark anything underneath me. It doesn't make me angry. It just makes me look at someone and say, that's the network that she is going to create. Let her do it because she has the money and we are in America and she can do whatever she wants with her money and create the network. I, of course, am someone that's an ally of the LGBTQ community, probably more of the LGB community, I would say. And whenever I had a lot of my friends that are part of that community, they're really upset and up in arms about Candace saying something like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, she respects traditional values. Could a divorcee take something like that and say, "Oh, I'm in a blended family. I have my first divorce. I'm part of a different family." Is that traditional? Who knows? Are people going to be offended by something like that? To me, it's not an offensive statement.
Right.
It's what she values. It's trying to bring that back to cable for people to be able to view that. Let it be. We can't have opinions like that anymore, though. No, sir. So, Candace Cameron Bure thanked fans for their support after her new channel, The Great American Family, became the fastest growing network in all of cable television. Didn't know that was going to happen. That is a huge congratulations. In a post to her Instagram story, the 46-year-old actress shared a press release from the Great American Media about closing out the fourth quarter as the fastest growing network in all of cable television. "Thank you for finding us and watching Great American Family Channel," she wrote. In a tweet from GAF, the network shared great news from Great American Media's Great American Family to end 2022 in an even better way to start 2023. "Happy New Year to everyone who helped me make this happen, from people on and off camera, but especially our viewers." In the press release, the network shared that it's only the channel's second year. It ranked number 1 in total day ratings, growth in households, and ages 18 to 49, huge age group, and total viewership per Nielsen. It also noted that the network came in number 1 in primetime rating growth in household among all cable networks. That is incredible to me.
Yes, it is.
That is amazing numbers. And I'm wondering, Susie, is it the controversy that we kind of spoke about right before about those traditional family, marriage values, whatever she said? I already forgot. Sorry. Is that something that sparked an uptick in the ratings? Because, whenever, is it the old, any publicity is good publicity? Yeah. Or is it because America is yearning for something a little bit more wholesome? Are people turning to television programs, television shows that are now few and far between, I might add, that are a little bit wholesome, that don't involve sex and nudity at every turn, that don't involve drugs, that don't involve cursing, that don't involve scandal, which is what I think when she says, "I want to bring these values back," that's also why I don't think it's offensive. I think it's an all-encompassing thing that she's saying. In her network, you will find maybe a little bit more of a wholesome vibe than you get with other networks.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
you go.
Don't be sorry.
I just set it up.
Yeah, set it up perfectly.
Lots of thoughts.
So, I think to get to answer one of the questions that you've raised, there is, yes, the statement that Candace made was basically a positive statement affirming her beliefs and values.
Right.
Implicit in that, for the radar ears that are listening for any offense to take, is, well, then you're rejecting my values and my lifestyle. And obviously, the LGBTQ culture wars that have, they've been going on for years. It kind of went through the whole like gay marriage thing, that sort of thing. And now we're over to the transgender thing. And there's even like conflict within the community itself, because there are different issues and agendas there. But there are people, particularly people that are, I guess, very online or very much an activist mentality, to look for any reason to take offense. So anything that lifts up in a positive light traditional family, Christianity, or anything that doesn't really gel with their views and their lifestyle, then, it doesn't take much to spark that outrage. Whether that's rational or reasonable is a different issue. So it doesn't surprise me that caused a stir, even though what she said was actually pretty innocuous and pretty mild. And it's no big shock. No big shock to anybody that's ever followed Candace Cameron Bure that those are her values.
Absolutely.
And that's what she believes in. She's always been very upfront about that. I don't know if she started the network. I know that the network kind of grew out of, I think it was like Great American Country, and then it went to Great American Family, and set itself up as a, I don't know if you want to say alternative to Hallmark. Hallmark in and of itself has always had this sort of wholesome underlying theme, if you
Yes.
will. And that's one of the reasons why it's so popular, particularly among women of my age.
Young women.
Yes, yes. I love, I would watch nonstop all the gory, crazy cop shows and, Criminal Minds, all that stuff. But I finally got to a point where I was kind of tired of all of that darkness. And the Hallmark universe is this sort of sweet, comfy, cozy, snuggly place where there's some conflict and there's some, tension and some suspense. But in the end, you're going to get your nice, sweet little bite of goodness, wholesome goodness. Now, Hallmark has in recent years expanded that a little bit so that it isn't kind of tied to that traditional. You saw maybe about 4 or 5 years ago them starting to have people who were the leads that were divorced characters, rather than people just meeting for the first time and just getting into a relationship for the first time. They've started broadening that. This year they had a movie that was about two gay characters falling in love. And so they've definitely branched that out a little bit. And I know some people were very uncomfortable with it. Some people are like, hey, it's still Hallmark. It's still like cheesy, cheesy sweet goodness. I love it. I still love it. And so I think that there was an eye that there was a market here, a niche for those people who really still value traditional family values and want to see that reflected in the content that they're consuming. And Great American Family stepped into it. It's the same formula.
Yes, it is.
It's a workable formula. And again, yes, they are completely formulaic. They're going to have a happy ending.
Yes.
They're like our little fairy tales. They're our modern day fairy tales.
And I think that when we talk about her comments and what I was trying to say, but I couldn't get the words out correctly, was that we only saw one group be very offended by those comments when we know that there are blended families out there. There are people that of divorce that have just been single and doing their thing, or they've joined a new family, or they've combined families. There's a lot of different situations, and we didn't see, at least to my knowledge, I didn't see on social media or Twitter, a lot of people that are divorced coming out and being like, screw you,
right,
Candace, or people from blended families saying, what the heck is this? It was only from one group that interpreted her message. She didn't
badmouth anybody or say anything negative.
She didn't.
Anybody.
She just said, as you illustrated, this is what I believe that I would like to show, and it's traditional family values. Interpret it the way that you want to, but she didn't say anything that was pointing fingers at a specific group, but there was a specific group
100%.
that took it this way. And I find it very interesting, and Chris Arps brings up this point a lot, that when we look at television now, when we look at media now, because we are so bombarded with bad, we are constantly, there's an influx of bad things that we can click on, from actual news stories about people being killed or kidnapped or robbed, and it's your next door neighbor, or it's right down the street, or businesses being corrupted and businesses going under because they can't afford to stay open because we shut them down in the pandemic, or people being nefarious and backstabby all the way at the federal level or the state level or the local level. We cannot escape the badness that is our reality.
Yeah.
That plays into how we make decisions day to day, that how we live our lives day to day. And it's really sad. And sometimes people make cable network, people make TV shows, or they make movies that can take you away from all of that badness, whether it be cheesy, whether it be wholesome, whether it not even be your vibe, because it's one of those things that you're like, it's too cozy for me.
Right.
It's too safe for me. Sometimes you need to grab onto that safety and watch something that is good, because all of everything that you're surrounded with in your normal life can be too overwhelmingly bad.
Well, it's true. It's true. If all you're ever consuming is the negativity, then how do you make room in your life for positivity? How do you not go through life with a dour outlook if you're only looking at those negative things? So, which is my philosophy. I mean, I look at plenty of negativity all day long. It's kind of part of my job.
Yes.
So I'm happy to kind of relax into the coziness and the comfort of that, whether it's Hallmark or GAF or any of those. It's nice. It's nice to not have to overthink things and to just enjoy, the simplicity of it.
I think, and that's the other thing, I don't know if you do this. I'm sure you do, Susie, but sometimes I like to turn on something and not have to think. Sometimes I like to have background noise that I don't have to think about, that I don't have to analyze, that I don't have to go into this deep dive of will they, won't they, what's going on. I'm going to turn something on so I can turn off my brain for a minute.
Yeah, that's what entertainment's supposed to be.
And as you said, this is that niche from Candace that she found that she's making money off of that is completely profitable. You can't hate the player.
No.
You got to hate the game. If you're going to be ragging on her for being successful and having this outstanding cable, I don't watch it. I don't know too much about it, but I can understand the need for it. You know?
Absolutely.
So next we're going to speak about a couple of different things with you, Susie. One of them being Prince Harry. I know you're all sick and tired of it, but I got to Judge Judy. Man, she came in with some comments, and I have to read some of the comments. We also have a little things happening in Missouri with lawmakers I want to talk to Susie about. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. We'll be right back.
And I was thinking of ways that I could get inside. Tonight you're falling in love. Let me go now. This feeling's tearing me up. Here we go. Now if she does it like this, will you do it like that? Now if she touches like this, will you touch her right back? If she
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
If you believe Brandon and the supply chain issues are still in crisis, or even if you don't, hurry into Southern Armory, your Second Amendment headquarters, for the best selection of firearms, suppressors, holsters, ammunition, pepper spray, and knives. Browse through our constantly changing inventory, order something special, or have us repair or modify that firearm that you've been putting off. Try our firearms training simulator. See the demo video on our website. Come into Southern Armory, 9901 Watson Road, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, at southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
October, today I wanted to talk, if you don't mind, about drug prices. You okay with that?
Street drugs or pharmaceuticals? What are you talking about?
I don't know. What do you got?
What are you looking for? I don't wear trench coats. No, I'm kidding you.
Hey,
I heard you. I couldn't believe what they're charging now. They're going to charge $100 for marijuana growers if you want to cultivate marijuana, like privately, just for your own use. You're going to have to get a license from the state, and it's crazy.
Vic Porcelli.
Live and local weekday mornings at 9
on News Talk STL.
HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at
newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. The top Republican on the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Turner, says the president retention of potential classified documents puts him in potential violation of laws protecting national security, including the Espionage Act and the Presidential Records Act. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise says the document disclosure reveals a double standard.
If then Vice President Biden took classified documents with him and held them for years and criticized former President Trump during that same time that he had those classified documents, and only after it was uncovered did he turn them back. I wonder why the press isn't asking the same questions of him as vice president taking classified documents that they were asking President Trump.
Senator Tom Cotton says the National Archives should refer the classified documents just returned by President Biden from his days in the Obama administration to the Department of Justice.
How do we know these are not papers that he was taking along with his lawyers and his family members poking around the vice presidential residence, trying to avoid complicity in his son's influence peddling in places like China and Ukraine and other foreign countries?
Senator Cotton interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Also at townhall.com, President Biden, Mexican President Lopez Obrador, and Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau meeting in Mexico City for a series of talks on migration, trade, and climate change. President Trudeau says the three nations work well together.
Our capacity to work together has brought us to places of extraordinary success, but at a time of disruption around the world, a time of very real challenges, we can and must be doing even more.
The three leaders trying to mend tensions that have divided the continent. Stocks finishing higher today. The Dow was up 187 points, the NASDAQ adding 106. More at townhall.com.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, Chief, we got a damaged RV on its way to the OR.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of RV surgery.
Wait, are you promoting me?
Congrats, Martinez.
Doctor, that RV's flatlining.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of nursing.
So you're just promoting everyone now?
Yeah, kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
An unpopular compensation package for Palestinians gets a makeover by the Israeli government. The latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson.
Israel's newly appointed finance minister has acted against the Palestinian program of providing stipends to families of those killed or captured while attacking Israelis. The program of support has been labeled pay for slay and condemned by Israel, the United States, and a number of European nations. Ultra-nationalistic finance minister Bezalel Smotrich froze the transfer of millions of dollars in taxes and tariffs Israel collects for the Palestinians under the Oslo Accords process, some of which is the source of the stipends Israel contends encourage violence against its citizens. The minister said he intends to distribute the collected funds to Israeli victims of Arab terror. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. A vigil held Monday night in Newport News, Virginia, for the elementary school teacher who was shot in class, allegedly by a 6-year-old student.
Friends, co-workers, and those wishing teacher Abby Zwerner well sang "Let There Be Peace on Earth," and they prayed for her continued healing. Co-worker Lauren Palladini, who's a counselor at Richneck Elementary School, tells WVEC-TV that it's nice to hear that the 25-year-old teacher's condition is improving.
I feel better as I hear that she's feeling better, so if this can help her feel even emotionally better, that's good for all of us.
Police say the 6-year-old suspect got the 9mm handgun from home. His mother had purchased it legally. I'm Donna Water.
Lynette Hardaway, known by the moniker Diamond of the conservative political commentary duo Diamond and Silk, has died. She was 51. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Dry tonight, but let's watch for some fog in the morning. Otherwise, mostly cloudy and a high of 61. Records in the 70s, so no record, but still a very mild day. And then we get into some rain at night, so most of the day's dry. It's Wednesday night and a Thursday morning. We'll see some rain showers. They may end mid to late morning Thursday as a few wet flakes, but most of this is just some rain. A low of 39 above freezing Thursday morning, and then a high of just 40 as it stays cold and windy the rest of the day Thursday. That's the latest First Alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert weather team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Katie Fitzpatrick, your host this afternoon, along with Susie Moore from Red State. Susie, thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Yep, my pleasure.
I've had a great time with you. I think we've had a lot of interesting discussions, lots of topics going here and forth. Tony will be back tomorrow. Tony's out. He's helping. He'll have many, many stories, but he's helping his daughter move to Orlando.
Yeah, that's
It's
big
very
stuff.
exciting.
It
Very
is
exciting. I am just baffled that his daughter Grace is like, yep, I'll just go ahead, pack up all my belongings, move to Orlando. Don't know anyone. She's doing the Disney program. I hope I'm not spoiling all of.
No,
Tony.
I think he shared that.
And he'll have many more
Right.
details tomorrow about it. But I just think that is so incredible and so wonderful that she was like, let me pack up all my things, go to Orlando, join the Disney program, and I'm off. I'm an adult dad. Here I go.
That's amazing.
Do you remember moving in your daughter for college?
Oh, yeah.
That was recent, right?
Yeah. So she's a junior this year. It was in the height of COVID.
Oh,
So,
no.
yeah, the whole
Oh,
college
no.
experience in one way or another has been semi-traumatic.
Ugh. I think, I do think about that so much, actually, about not necessarily elementary school or middle school, but I think about the high schoolers
She
who
was the
missed
class of 20.
prom. Oh,
Yeah. So, yeah, I absolutely remember moving her in. Like it was yesterday, even though it's been 2.5 years now. But
that makes me so sad. Missing prom, missing football games, the school year shut down, having to work from home. I mean, I am definitely someone that loves to be in an office. I loved going to school. I loved the social aspect of it all. Did I like the schoolwork? No. But I loved the social aspect of it. I loved seeing my teachers. And it just breaks my heart even thinking 2.5, 3 short years ago, we were in a panic, and these poor kids going to college or their senior year or junior year of high school had to miss out on so much.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing about it, too, was once they got to school, they were still so isolated. I mean, she didn't know a ton of people that were going to her school. And because of the circumstances at that time, they had to remain isolated. So it was really hard to get that, that experience of you weren't going to class.
Yeah.
You weren't. I mean, she joined
weren't
us.
meeting anybody.
She joined a sorority, but it was all done virtually, and then they didn't have very many events where they could see each other in person. So it took her forever to get to know any of her sorority sisters. They got a raw deal.
And again, I know we've talked about this now for 3 years, but I am truly going to be fascinated when we find out about the psychology of people that were not allowed to mingle, that weren't allowed to, for 2 years, talk to other people person to person.
And think about, I mean, my daughter, thankfully is a fairly well-adjusted kid and has a pretty good head on her shoulders. But for anybody that struggled with, either social circumstances or anything like that, just mental health issues, anything like that, this had to amplify that so much. So it's heartbreaking when you think about it.
It's so sad. Well, Tony will be back, and he's going to be back tomorrow talking about some of those stories with Grace.
With
So I'm
happy
excited-
stories.
With happy stories. With good, victorious stories about moving in his daughter, his firstborn. Maybe he'll shed some tears. I'm just kidding. That is
Not Tony Colombo.
That is not Tony's style. So we have talked about this a couple times today on Colombo and Katie and on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, which is coming up next at 3:30. Don't miss out. And then Larry Connors USA immediately after the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. So you want to stick around and listen to that as well. Harry. And I keep calling Harry and Meghan Mary. I keep merging them for their celebrity name and saying Mary. But Harry and Meghan are causing another uproar because of Harry's tell-all book, Spare.
Yeah.
Are you interested in Harry and Meghan? Are you not interested? Or does this make them interesting?
This does not make them interesting. I was mildly interested in them just, I've never been like a royal watcher or anything like that, but I mean, it was just mildly interesting. It is kind of intriguing. He marries an American. There's kind of a non-traditional aspect to it. This is, she's an actress, that sort of thing. So, I mean, I was kind of interested in that. I've always kind of had a soft spot for Harry because he was the second born and, because they both him and William obviously lost their mom at a young age. And
yes.
Yeah. So I've just kind of had that mild interest in it, but I'm not somebody who goes to the gossip rags and can't wait to see what the next royal thing is. Now, circling back to our friend Kira Davis, she did a 2-part podcast on her Just Listen to Yourself that just basically was just dissecting the royal family and Meghan Markle.
Listen to that.
Oh, it's good. It's good.
Because
if you like the dish,
I do. And I'm not someone that has followed this at all. I
Yeah.
mean, really at all. Mary, as I like to call them, Harry and Meghan, and then William and Kate. Yes. Yes. William and Kate, too. I didn't really follow them
No, not
whenever
really.
they were in the spotlight. But it's interesting to me to see the celebrities that have come out now, and they're like, what in the hell is going on? One of them being Judge Judy.
So what did she say?
So, Judge Judy joined the chorus of critics against Prince Harry amid the release of his memoir, Spare, which is full of accusations against the royal family. When asked about his behavior, why was Judge Judy? Oh, okay, it's on Britain's ITV, that's why.
Okay.
I'm like, why was Judge Judy asked about
That's
this?
interesting.
She said, as a mother and a grandmother, she considered such actions disingenuous and unseemly. She continues, I will tell you that I would be furious, and I would think that a child or that grandchild was a selfish, spoiled, ungrateful one. That's what I would feel. I'd be really hurt. I think anybody with a brain would see that it's disingenuous. It's biting the hand that fed you. It's unseemly. Now, everybody that's ever known TV knows Judge Judy. I mean, there is no way you don't know Judge Judy. You know she's fierce.
Yeah.
You know it's reality TV, but she's a truth teller, I would say.
Yeah.
Even in
Unvarnished truth.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that's why you love her. She's like Simon Cowell. We got to love those mean people that are not meaning to be mean, but they're just truth tellers. And I look at comments like that, and I'm thinking people around her age group. I believe she's in her 70s, maybe even a little bit older.
Yeah.
Than that, maybe 80s.
Maybe 80.
I'm wondering if people in the UK, in England, if they feel that same way. I don't think anyone in that area is like, I love Harry and Meghan.
Well, I think you're right on that.
Okay.
And I think there's a fierce protective streak amongst most Brits about the royal family.
I do too.
Even while they may be critical of them and have their beef with them, at the same time they're fiercely protective of the monarchy and the tradition. And to see someone who's a very high profile member of that come out and basically just burn it to the ground to make a buck, which is what it comes across like.
That's what I told Chris yesterday.
It just looks gross. It's like, hey, you know what? Every family has its dysfunction, and there's no doubt in my mind that the royal family probably has a very, very healthy dose of it for all the added reasons you would expect. But then to do a tell-all. I mean, even Patty Davis, Ronald Reagan's daughter, came out and was like, don't do it. It's a bad idea.
Stay quiet.
You know, and she should know because she kind of torched her family.
And it's just, I'm sure there are many Americans that are going to buy this book and they love Harry and they love Meghan and they're like, keep on going, brah rah sispoonba, Team Mary. But to me, and I told Chris this yesterday, and Chris made some really, really good points about this whenever we have this discussion on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. He's like, there are skeletons in the closet. And he is like, there is, to me, there's no doubt that having a brown-skinned girl come into the family really shook some feathers. And I don't disagree with that. I'm sure that
could very well be.
Completely. And Harry and Meghan have a right, if that is the situation, to feel the way that they want to feel about that and be upset and angry because you're talking about their child.
Right.
But to air it all out after you have spent your entire life profiting off of the family and now further profiting off of the tell-all is gross to me. It is unseemly.
Yeah, no, that's the perfect word for it. It is unseemly. It's just,
And if you are someone that loves that and you are on Team Harry and Team Meghan because they escaped the royal family, which, again, did they escape because now they're making money on podcasts and Netflix series and books all about the royal family, all about their time being the prince and the princess. I look at these two people and I'm like, there's this term that a lot of the young kids use, and it's thirsty.
Oh, yeah.
This is a thirsty act. You don't want to be part of it, but you still want that attention.
And I guarantee who's driving it.
Oh, yeah.
Meghan.
Miss Meghan.
Meghan.
She's been in Hollywood, and she is an actress, and she's had managers, and she knows how it could look here in America, which does it make her a smart person?
Right.
You know, does it make her a smart person to say, we don't have to be successful in England. We can bring all the drama and all the chaos to America, and they'll eat it up.
Maybe. One of our Red State writers went to high school with Megan.
What? Really?
Yeah, Scott Hounsel.
Do they? Does he have some stories?
Yeah, his stories are that she was like, because I think one of the stories that she's told not too long ago was basically how she was kind of the victim of maybe like some bullying and some racial unkindness, if you will. When she was in high school, and he was like, that ain't true.
Oh, she said that she was the victim of that.
Yes.
He didn't. Okay, I was like, oh my gosh.
No, he said that nothing could be further from the truth. Like, she was very popular. Everyone loved her. She was a sweetheart. She was like a homecoming queen, and everyone thought she like hung the moon.
Isn't that fun?
So like here she's playing the like poor little me victim thing, and he's like,
Isn't that fun? I love knowing that when people are like, I went to high school with them and none of that is true.
Yeah.
It's so great. I have another thing about social media, its influence, just the media in general. This story was so bizarre to me, but it does show you the power of social media. A trans activist, this is from the Daily Wire, dailywire.com. A trans activist lobbied to get a woman fired from her job as a community manager at the video game company Limited Run Games and appears to have been successful. I've never heard of Limited Run Games
No,
before.
I haven't either.
Social media user Purple Tinker tweeted several grievances against a woman named Kara Lynn on January 6th. The community manager for Limited Run Games, Kara Lynn, is a transphobe who follows a who's who of right-wing transphobic creeps. Unless and until she is fired from the company permanently, I'm not giving them another single dime, the tweet said, but it's now deleted. Screenshots included evidence of Lynn, the person that's got fired, questioning men who identify as transgender using women's restrooms. That was a big controversy. A lot of people had many differing opinions about that. I mean, it's a huge subject. Plus commenting on plus committing offenses such as following libs of TikTok on Twitter.
Oh dear.
And I guess Lynn made a comment saying, looking forward to a Harry Potter game coming out.
Yeah.
So those three things triggered this activist, Purple Tinker, saying, I don't like that she likes Harry Potter because, of course, Rowling.
J.K. Rowling has been a traditional feminist and therefore is TERF and horrible person.
Exactly, TERF. And then commented on trans men who identify as transgender using women's restrooms, and then also follows libs of TikTok. All of those things are offensible, and she should be fired from her job.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that Purple Tinker probably deleted that tweet for fear of getting sued for, she basically, if she got this person fired over that, I mean, to me, that smells like a lawsuit.
What's the lawyer? What could happen? So if someone were to grab this screenshot, what happens?
So Kara Lynn is not by any reasonable definition a public figure. She's just a person who works at this gaming company and has a social media presence. That doesn't make her a limited purpose or an altogether public figure, which means the standard for her suing for defamation or for like intentional or tortious interference, those sorts of things, it's lower. All she has to prove is that this person caused her to lose her job over something that was unfounded. I mean, she made all these accusations.
Is it defamation?
It is.
In some form?
In some form, yeah. And, based on what? A crafty lawyer is going to make this person very nervous, and rightly so. It's just, and what's wrong with that company? If this is a valued employee, if this is somebody that they've hired and they have working with them and they appreciate, they're going to let some random person cry about it on social media and force their hand to terminate that employee's contract, employment.
So this is what Limited Run Games, the company that she was terminated from, says. LRG respects all personal opinions. However, of course, so that means you don't. However, we remain committed to supporting an inclusive culture. Upon investigating a situation, an employee was terminated. Our goal as a company is to continue to foster a positive and safe environment for everyone. Again, I do not see in any of these comments that I'm reading from the Daily Wire, I don't see a single tweet from Kara Lynn that convinces me that she said anything that was super harmful, that because she followed libs of TikTok or because she said she was excited about the Harry Potter game, or even expressing opinion saying, and I don't know if she said this, but expressing opinion that maybe she was fearful or maybe it was dangerous of having men who were transgender be in women's restrooms. I don't see a single comment on this sheet of paper about any of that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to use that as the basis by which to say, okay, well, this person has exhibited some level of, hate or discourse that we just can't abide. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
So the question now is, I know that social media plays a big role in hiring and firing. Now, this is not the first case. For me in college in 2016, whenever I was leaving and graduating, that was a huge, huge thing that my professor said. It was like a constant drumbeat of them saying, when you get into the professional world, make sure your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever your social media preference is scrubbed, super private. You get any of the pictures off of you partying or drinking or doing any of that. Any of your statuses that are inappropriate, you need to scrub that because all of your employers are now looking at social media saying, what are they doing? How are they active? What are they doing in their social lives? Who are they connected with?
Sure.
So I get that being a heavy influence.
Right.
But when you look at a story like this, does it make you fearful, Susie, for someone like your daughter to say something that is not completely innocent, but is also not completely provocative, just kind of a statement, and have someone be offended by that, and then that person report to their company saying she needs to be fired because I don't like that she follows libs of TikTok?
Yes, but it makes me, more than anything, it makes me more resolved that people should be able to say what they believe and recognize that there can be consequences for that. So you do have to be mindful of that.
Yes.
I mean, you have to recognize that. But then those consequences should also be reasonable. Firing somebody over something like this is beyond the bounds of reason. And I think we're starting to see a pushback. I think J.K. Rowling is a perfect example of that. She's refused to bend to that and said, no, I'm not going to change my view on this. I'm not going to go after you, but I'm standing firm on where I am. And speaking of that game, it's like Hogwarts Legacy or something is the name of the game. And there was this big push by the trans activist community to basically badmouth it and get it to, go up in flames and not have healthy sales. But what that did was push the gaming community into saying, okay, well, we're going to do a boycott. We're going to actually buy this game now because we want to support it.
Absolutely. This is what I'm saying. Whenever we look at, there's so many stories today with this exact same thing, that it's all publicity is good publicity. The minute that you try to have something like that happen where you have this movement and you're going to shut down J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter, and you don't want to, rally all these people against a game like that because you can't stand that someone would buy something like that. You, in turn, make it more successful because you brought a spotlight to it.
As long as we're not all a hive mind, you've got people with differing views. So there's always going to be, for every push, there's going to be an opposite push.
Yes, there is. And I think that we're learning that even at the federal level. We're seeing that even at our highest form of government, where you put a spotlight towards something and it completely backfiring on your original purpose. It's hilarious, and we're all buckle up, people. Buckle up, people, because we're all a part of the crazy roller coaster that is this news cycle. Thank you so much, Susie, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
I had a blast with you. Again, Tony Colombo is going to be in tomorrow. The Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show is next, followed by Larry Connors USA. You are listening to News Talk STL 1019 94.1, newstalkstl.com. Thanks, guys.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL.
This is what's happening.
It's about time that Joe Biden went down to the border. Speaker McCarthy is our speaker.
News, analysis, opinion.
Violence that's tearing apart our city.
1019 and 94.1.
This is News Talk STL.
Fox News commentary.
The Biden administration now admits the Keystone Pipeline would have created thousands of jobs and billions in economic impact. Wow, you don't say. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Democrats predicted an end to high inflation, but nothing has changed. In fact, food and housing prices are still going higher. Hi, This is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to protect your savings from inflation by diversifying into a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, simply text the word SHELTER to 989898, and you'll get a free info kit on gold IRAs that will explain everything. Again, that's SHELTER to 989898. There's no obligation or purchase required.
First day in office, President Joe canceled the Keystone Pipeline for no reason beyond a worthless green virtue signal. Now his administration is finally, yet quietly admitting how costly that mistake is. In a congressionally mandated report from the Department of Energy, we see that the pipeline would have created up to 59,000 jobs and would have had a positive economic impact of between 3.4 and 9.6 billion. Let's not forget, the cancellation of that pipeline put a dent in our energy independence and helped contribute to rising gas prices. This is especially infuriating for me, given that pipeline was set to run through my home state of South Dakota, bolstering the state's economy and providing high-paying and reliable jobs for thousands in and around my state. How does the White House get away with this? Robbing our people of jobs and our nation of billions, all to appease the hippie environmental green hairs? I'm Tommy Lahren.
St. Louis's new choice